The scariest thing about manipulation isn't how often it happens, it's how rarely you notice it, because the people controlling you aren't the ones you fear, they're the ones you trust. Think about that for a second. Right now, as you're watching this, you probably believe you're too smart to be manipulated. You've got a good head on your shoulders. You can spot a liar. You know when someone's trying to play you, right? Wrong. That belief, that exact thought running through your head right now, that's what makes you the easiest target, because real manipulation doesn't announce itself. It doesn't wear a villain's mask. It doesn't leave fingerprints. It walks into your life disguised as friendship, love, opportunity, and help. The truth is, we're all being manipulated every single day. By our friends, our family, our partners, the content we consume, the products we buy, the beliefs we hold, and most terrifying of all, we never see it coming. So today, I'm going to show you the 10 dark psychology tricks people use to control you quietly, subtly, perfectly, without you ever noticing. And I promise you this, once you see these techniques, you'll never unsee them. You'll start recognizing them everywhere. In your relationships, in your workplace, in the media you consume. And once you notice them, they stop working. Let's begin. Have you ever met someone and felt an instant connection? Like you just clicked? Like you'd known them forever? That wasn't magic. That was mirroring. Mirroring is when someone copies your posture, your tone, your beliefs, your interests. They laugh when you laugh. They lean in when you lean in. They suddenly love the same obscure band you mentioned 5 minutes ago. They share your political views, your sense of humor, your taste in everything. And it feels incredible, doesn't it? Because humans are hardwired to trust people who seem like us. Your brain interprets similarity as safety. When someone mirrors you, your subconscious whispers, "This person gets me. This person is safe. This person is on my side." But here's the dark truth. Skilled manipulators don't become who they are. They become who you need. Think about the early stages of toxic relationships. The narcissist who shares all your hobbies. The con artist who has the same values as you. The fake friend who suddenly cares about everything you care about. They're not being authentic. They're studying you, learning you, becoming your perfect match. Salespeople do this. Politicians do this. Anyone who wants something from you does this. The most dangerous part? By the time you realize you've been mirrored, you're already emotionally invested. You've already told them your secrets. You've already let them in. And now, when they start showing their true colors, you're too attached to walk away, because they didn't just mirror your behavior, they mirrored your soul. And now you're bonded to a person who never really existed. That never happened. You're overreacting. You're remembering it wrong. I never said that. You're being crazy. If you've ever heard these phrases repeatedly from someone in your life, congratulations, you've been gaslighted. Gaslighting is the art of making you doubt your own memory, your emotions, your perception of reality itself. It's named after a 1944 film where a husband manipulates his wife into thinking she's losing her mind. And it's one of the most insidious forms of psychological abuse that exists. Here's how it works. Someone does something that hurts you. You confront them, and instead of acknowledging it, they deny it ever happened. They twist the narrative. They make you question your own sanity. Over time, this creates a terrifying effect. When you can no longer trust your own mind, you become completely dependent on theirs. They become your reality, your truth, your interpreter of the world. Imagine living in a house where the walls move when you're not looking, where doors appear and disappear, where gravity works differently every day. That's what gaslighting feels like. You lose your grip on what's real. And the worst part? Gaslighters are often the people closest to you. Parents, partners, best friends. People who claim to love you while systematically destroying your ability to trust yourself. The emotional damage is profound. Victims of gaslighting don't just lose confidence, they lose something far more valuable. They lose their internal compass. They can no longer distinguish between truth and lies, between their feelings and someone else's narrative. Gaslighting doesn't destroy your confidence, it destroys your ability to trust yourself. And once that's gone, you're not just vulnerable to one manipulator, you're vulnerable to everyone. Let me tell you a secret about human psychology. We are wired to repay favors. It's called the reciprocity principle, and it's one of the most powerful forces in human behavior. When someone does something nice for you, you feel obligated to return the favor. This isn't weakness, it's how societies function, it's how trust is built. But manipulators, they weaponize it. Here's how the reciprocity trap works. Someone gives you something small, a compliment, a favor, a gift, and it feels good. It feels genuine. But then, later, sometimes days, sometimes weeks, they ask for something in return, something bigger, something you wouldn't normally agree to. And here's the trap. Refusing now feels immoral. It feels ungrateful. It feels wrong. Because they were so kind to you, and now you're being selfish. This is love bombing in relationships. The new partner who showers you with gifts, attention, and affection so overwhelming that you feel indebted to them. So when they start demanding access to your phone, or controlling who you see, or isolating you from friends, you accept it. Because look how much they've done for you. This is the free trial that's not really free, the sample that comes with expectations, the strategic generosity that's actually an investment in future control. And here's the truly dark part. The kindest people often have the darkest motives. Because genuine kindness doesn't come with a price tag, it doesn't keep a ledger, it doesn't remind you of what you owe. But manipulation disguised as kindness? That's the perfect crime, because you'll never see it coming. You'll just feel the weight of debt you never agreed to carry. Knowledge is power. We've all heard that, but here's what they don't tell you. The person who controls information controls everything. Information control is a manipulation tactic where someone decides what you're allowed to know. They're not necessarily lying to you, they're just carefully selecting which truths you get to see. Think about it like this. Imagine I show you a photograph, but I've cut it in half. You're only seeing part of the picture. Your interpretation of what's happening is based on incomplete information. You might think you understand the full story, but you don't. You can't. Because I've decided what you're allowed to see. This happens everywhere. In relationships, where your partner tells you about their night out, but leaves out certain details. In workplaces, where your boss shares some information, but withholds the context that would change everything. In media, where stories are reported with certain facts emphasized and others buried. Manipulators use three main forms of information control. First, hiding information entirely. Complete blackout. You don't know what you don't know. Second, selective truth. Telling you facts that are technically accurate but missing the context that would change your interpretation. Third, breadcrumb disclosure. Giving you information slowly, piece by piece, so you never see the full picture at once. By the time you have all the facts, you're already too invested to change course. The reason this works so well is simple. The person who controls information controls interpretation. If I tell you someone yelled at me, you'll think they're aggressive. If I also tell you I insulted their family first, suddenly the story changes. Same facts, different context, completely different meaning. Manipulators don't lie. They just choose which truths you're allowed to see, and in doing so, they control your entire reality. Your emotions are a dial, and manipulators know exactly how to turn it. Emotional priming is the technique of manipulating your emotional state to influence your decision-making. Because here's the truth. Humans don't make logical decisions. We make emotional decisions and then justify them with logic later. Advertisers know this. That's why they show you heartwarming commercials before asking you to buy something. That's why political ads use fear and anger before telling you who to vote for. That's why charity campaigns show you suffering before asking for donations. They're priming your emotions to bypass your rational mind. In personal relationships, emotional priming is even more insidious. A toxic partner will praise you excessively before asking for a favor. They'll stress you out before demanding compliance, because stressed people have less mental energy to resist. They'll make you feel guilty before requesting something unreasonable. Fear before suggestion, praise before request, stress before compliance. The pattern is always the same. Manipulate your mood first, then make your move. Think about the last time you made a decision you later regretted. Were you in a normal, calm state of mind? Or were you emotional, angry, anxious, euphoric, tired? Manipulators don't wait for you to be in the right emotional state. They create it. They engineer your mood like a scientist running an experiment, and once your emotions are where they want them, they strike. If they control your mood, they control your mind. It's that simple and that terrifying. The most effective prison isn't made of bars. It's made of loneliness. Isolation is one of the most powerful manipulation tactics because it removes your support system, your friends, your family, anyone who might notice what's happening to you, anyone who might help you escape. But here's the clever part. The manipulator never says, "I'm isolating you." That would be too obvious. Instead, they use subtle criticism. They plant seeds of doubt. Your friends don't really care about you like I do. Your family doesn't understand you. They're toxic. They're bad for you, and just trying to protect you. At first, it seems like they're looking out for you, like they're the only one who truly cares. And maybe some of your friends were flaky. Maybe your family is difficult, so you start pulling away, slowly, naturally, because it makes sense, right? Except it doesn't, because now, weeks or months later, you look around and realize you're alone. The only person left in your life is the person who convinced you to let everyone else go. And now there's no one to reality check your situation, no one to tell you this isn't normal, no one to help you see clearly, no one to catch you when you finally decide to leave. Loneliness makes people easier to control. It removes perspective. It removes options. It removes hope. You don't need chains to trap someone. You just need to remove everyone who could set them free. Have you ever experienced a relationship that started too perfectly? Where someone gave you more attention, affection, and validation in 2 weeks than you'd received in your entire life? That wasn't love. That was love bombing. Love bombing is the practice of overwhelming someone with excessive affection to bypass their critical thinking. It's the texts all day, every day, the constant compliments, the future plans made on the second date, the declarations of soulmate status before you've even had a real conversation. And it feels incredible. Because humans crave connection, validation, and love. When someone gives you all three at maximum intensity, your brain floods with dopamine. You become addicted. You become dependent. Here's why it works so well. Love bombing overwhelms your emotional defenses. Normally, you'd be cautious with a new person. You'd take things slow. You'd watch for red flags. But love bombing doesn't give you time to think. It sweeps you off your feet so quickly that you never touch the ground. And once you're emotionally invested, once you're dependent on that flood of affection, the manipulator pulls back. Slowly, gradually, the texts become less frequent, the compliments dry up, the warmth disappears. And now you're chasing it. You're trying to get back to that honeymoon phase. You're accepting worse and worse treatment because you remember how good it used to be. You believe if you just try harder, if you're just better, it'll come back, but it won't, because it was never real. It was a trap. Real love grows slowly. It builds over time. It's steady, consistent, and sustainable. Manipulation arrives quickly. It burns bright and fast. And it always, always comes with a price. Let me introduce you to one of the cruelest manipulation tactics, triangulation. Triangulation is when someone brings a third person into your relationship to create insecurity, jealousy, and competition. It's the narcissist who constantly mentions their ex, the parent who compares you to your sibling, the boss who pits employees against each other, the partner who brings up someone who's interested in them. The goal isn't to leave you for that third person. The goal is to make you afraid they might. Here's how it works psychologically. Once you perceive a competitor, real or imagined, you enter survival mode. You start competing for approval. You start accepting worse treatment because you're afraid of being replaced. You lose perspective on whether this relationship is even worth fighting for. Triangulation is used by narcissists who want to keep you off balance, by parents who want to control their children through comparison, by managers who want desperate, compliant employees, by jealous partners who want you to feel inadequate. The effect is devastating. You stop asking yourself, is this person treating me well? And start asking, how do I make sure they choose me? You become so focused on winning a competition you never agreed to enter that you forget to ask, why am I competing at all? They don't need to control you directly. They just need to control what you're afraid of losing. And once they do, you'll control yourself. Can you do me a small favor? 5 words. Harmless, right, wrong. The foot in the door technique is a classic manipulation strategy. Start with a small request, then build to something huge. And it works because of one fundamental truth about human psychology. We want to appear consistent. Here's the pattern. Someone asks you for something tiny. Can you spare 5 minutes? Can you help with this small task? Can you make an exception just this once? And you say yes, because it's small, because it's harmless, because you're a helpful person. But that small yes was never the goal. It was the foundation, because now, when they come back with a bigger request, you're trapped by your own consistency. You helped them before. You established yourself as someone who helps them. To refuse now feels like you're contradicting yourself. It feels inconsistent. And humans hate being inconsistent. So you say yes again, and again, and again. Just this once becomes every time. The small favor becomes your responsibility. The exception becomes the rule. And before you know it, you're doing things you never wanted to do, giving time you don't have, sacrificing boundaries you meant to keep, all because you said yes to something small 6 months ago. Your biggest regrets usually start with your smallest yes, because manipulators don't ask for everything at once. They know you'd say no. Instead, they build their control piece by piece, yes by yes, until you're so far in that turning back feels impossible. We've covered 9 manipulation tactics, but this final one, this is the most powerful, because it doesn't control your actions. It controls your identity. Identity hijacking is when someone manipulates who you think you are, and in doing so, controls everything you do. Listen to these phrases. You're the type of person who always keeps their word. Someone like you wouldn't give up. People like us always stick together. Sounds positive, right? Sounds like a compliment. But watch what happens. You're the type of person who always keeps their word, so now you can't back out of a commitment, even if it's harming you. Someone like you wouldn't give up, so now you can't leave a toxic situation, even when you should. People like us always stick together, so now you can't distance yourself, even when they're destroying you. The manipulator has redefined your identity, and now you're trapped by your own self-concept. This is the ultimate manipulation because humans are hardwired to act in alignment with their identity. We do things not because they make sense, but because they match who we believe we are. If you see yourself as loyal, you'll stay in situations that demand loyalty, even when loyalty is no longer deserved. If you see yourself as strong, you'll endure suffering to prove your strength, even when walking away would be stronger. If you see yourself as helpful, you'll sacrifice yourself repeatedly, even when no one appreciates it. Change someone's identity, and you control their behavior forever. You don't need to tell them what to do. They'll do it themselves to remain consistent with who they think they are. The ultimate manipulation isn't changing how you think, it's changing who you think you are. So here's the truth most people ignore. Manipulation doesn't start with force, it starts with familiarity. The people who control you best are always the ones you never suspected. They're not strangers in dark alleys. They're the people you love, the people you trust, the people who know you best, because that's who has access. That's who knows your weaknesses. That's who you let your guard down around. Now that you've seen these 10 tricks, you'll start noticing them everywhere. In your relationships, in your workplace, in the media, in yourself. And once you notice them, they stop working. Because manipulation relies on invisibility. It relies on you not asking questions. It relies on you trusting blindly. But now you see. Now you know. Now you're awake. And that changes everything.